How did you like it? So, are we nerds or what? We're pretty big nerds, right? Yeah, I wanted to make sure and show all the credits because those are the people that made it, you know what I mean? I've always had kind of a pet peeve about, like, even when I go to movie theaters, I've always had a pet peeve about leaving the theater as soon as the movie's over and they show the credits, because those are the people that made the film. So it's always good to stay, you know, and watch those. How are we doing on time? We've got a few minutes here. Does anybody have any questions about what you just saw? Yes?
How was it playing your father's role?
How was it playing your father's role?
I gotta tell you, it was really scary at first. It really was. And luckily, before we did this episode, we did a couple vignettes. And we had one called Happy Birthday, Scotty. I don't know if you've seen it, but you can see it at StarTrekContinues.com if you haven't seen it. So that was my way to get in to be Scotty, the real Scotty, beaming people up at that point. And that kind of calmed my nerves. You know, it was very well received. Well, it was very well received, and I was able to get the Scottish accent down, and that was, well, to a point. I told a couple people this story, but when Vic asked me to do it, I was listening to Gerard Butler on an interview, a radio interview, and I recorded it, and it was in my car, and I go, I gotta record this. He's got a very thick brogue, you know, he talks like this. And I thought, you know, that'll be great. So I played it over and over and over in my head, and practiced in front of the mirror and all this stuff. I don't recommend that, by the way. But then, so I had it down the Scottish accent down pretty well. And then I went back and watched a couple of episodes on Netflix that featured my dad a lot. And I thought, wow, my dad's not that good. I mean, he's not a Gerard Butler kind of accent. He's sort of an Americanized version of a Scottish accent. Of course, this is hundreds of years in the future, so who knows what it is, right? It is what it is. And so then I hate to use the phrase dumb it down, but I did a little bit, and I feel comfortable with that, and it really brought my nerves down, and I felt good about doing it. So by the time we ended up doing the episode, I was extremely comfortable, and I comfortable working with Vic and the rest of the cast. It was a great experience.
And you know, you take some of those accents too far, you can't even understand what they're saying. Right? So like, what was that, Mr. Scott? You know what I love? Did anyone catch, it would be a great trivia question, but do you remember when they were on the bridge and they were talking about how they needed to fix a problem, and Scotty goes, what a whop in the rape. He kind of looks to the side, what a whop in the rape. It's a Scottish phrase that means like a kink in the rope, like a knot in the rope that keeps something from going smoothly down a rope. And I looked it up and I thought it was just really fun, and so I threw it in there and I sent it to Chris. Chris, what the heck is this? He said, don't worry about it, just say it. Just say it.
Do it. I go, hold on, what the rape?
And nobody has even asked about it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that, like, you know, I wanted it to be like a little Scottish thing that he does, like, you know. The Happy Birthday Scotty vignette, how many of you have seen that? Okay, you guys go home and watch it. It's really a great little vignette. It's only like 2 or 3 minutes, but let me tell you what it's all about. I wanted to introduce a new phaser. I wanted to introduce an upgraded phaser. Something that looked just like the TOS phaser, but upon closer inspection, it's got some revisions. But I didn't want to do it in the middle of an episode because it would kind of take people out of the moment, right? If you're watching the story and you're all into the story, and then suddenly a security guy pulls a phaser, and you cut to a close-up of the phaser, and it looks different, you as the audience are going to be like, oh, what is that? Well, that doesn't look the same. Suddenly you're thinking about the phaser and not the story. So we thought, what a better way to introduce the phaser than to give it its own little vignette. So there's this little vignette that we did where they beam this 2 big crates of the whole ship's supply of new phasers onto the ship. And we walk into the transporter room, and I'm like, happy birthday, Scotty. And McCoy's like, is it your birthday, Scotty? And I'm like, well, with what we're about to beam aboard, it might as well be, am I right? And so they beam these phasers aboard. Of course, Scotty he's all excited to lift the lid and pulls out the phaser. He's like, hey, she's a beauty. And of course, McCoy is like, it looks just like the other one. It's a really, really wonderful, it's an endearing and affectionate kind of a moment with the crew, which I think...
A lot of humor.
A lot of humor, which I think is lost in a lot of fan films. A lot of fan productions just focus immediately on, let's beam people down, and let's shoot phasers, and let's flip open communicators, and it's all very surfacey, the stereotypes of the characters. But a lot of that humor and camaraderie that existed between the characters that I felt was such a part of the original series is often missing in a lot of fan productions. So as you saw in our episode, there was a lot of that. There were a lot of cute little moments where like McCoy goes, I agree with Spock, and I go, and even Spock goes, since when do you agree with me, right? Question, anyone? Anyone else? Any other questions? Yes?
What's it like being a part of something, a show so big from your childhood?
There are no words. There are no words to describe how much I love, and I think I can speak for a lot of people on our crew and our production crew, love what we're doing. It's the coolest thing, you guys, because you spend years developing certain skills, right? For me, I've been shooting films and directing and making props and making little movies, and then in college I majored in film. My degree is in film. I love directing and shooting, editing and sound design and acting and lighting and all of it. I love it all. So what could be a greater joy than to take your childhood love and the skills that you've developed over the decades and bring them together? It's an enormous undertaking. I think you watch that episode and you can see building all the sets, lighting all the sets, the makeup, the costumes, the props.
And my huge salary.
I'm paying him in bottles of scotch. That's how I'm paying him.
Absolutely nothing.
Exactly, and you know what? I'm glad that you said that. Nobody's being paid. This is pure labor of love, you guys. And you know what? People in Hollywood, their brains don't even think like that. They can't even comprehend that somebody would go to this lengths to do something like this for nothing.
Well,
Everybody, that's true, I did buy him a nice steak. But everybody in LA that I talk to about it, or that sees it, they're like, how are you making money with this? That's the first thought that they think of. And I look at them and I go, we're not. And they're like, why would you do this if it wasn't to make money? Well, because we love it. And it meant so much to us when we were kids. And the chance to do it now as adults to this degree is priceless to us.
And to bring it to you guys too.
Because we're not alone. There are millions of people out there that love the original series. Either that watched it when they were younger, or the kids that love it. The kid that plays Chekhov in our series, he's 19 years old, and he's the biggest original Star Trek fan I've ever met. His dad sat him down on his lap, and they watched Star Trek together when he was a little boy. So he was
like a trivia award with you?
Oh yeah, he's an anime fan. The guy that plays Chekhov, his name is Wyatt Lenhart, and he came to an anime convention just like you, and that's where I met him. And I had a Star Trek trivia challenge where the fans could try to stump me with questions from the original series of Star Trek. And he brought all of these great questions, and I immediately identified him. This kid, he loves Star Trek. Well, then I found out that he's an actor, and a really good one. And so I asked him to play Chekhov for us, and he's perfect. But that brings me to something I really want to say to you guys, and I hope you'll help us. When we made this episode, we paid for it. We didn't ask anybody for any money. We didn't get online and say, hey, please help us make something. Because I felt very strongly about us doing it ourselves to